It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman. Happy to be with you on this Tuesday where we have faith again in the sports world. After a debacle of a Super Bowl on Sunday, the Kansas Jayhawks and Arizona Wildcats saved us as sports fans. If you like to get away from your life just a little bit and just flat out be entertained, Monday night was your night with Kansas and Arizona. What a game that was. We'll talk about that a little bit later with Mark Van Sickle as, there's a lot of moving parts to what's going on at KU. All I know is they remind me a lot of some of the Chiefs teams, that they're unpredictable. They've had low spots. We're not sure about this player or that player or things that are going on. You would think they would be finger pointing, but they're not. They're coming together. It's a wild ride for Kansas basketball this year, and they look like, all of a sudden, they look like anything is possible. Also, coming up in 30 minutes, who was the first person Savannah Guthrie called? Who was the first person she called about her mom's disappearance? And why it matters. Because the person she called is being asked about what he's doing in this situation, and he's basically bragging that he was the first one that she called. You got to hear this coming up at 10:30. They won't report this on the regular news. Not yet. And maybe someday some of this will come out, but the pieces are fitting together in a very, very strange fashion here with what's going on. I'm not talking about solving the case. That's not it. I'm talking about what the Guthries are doing and how they've done this, handling this in the media, NBC News, all these other things going on. We'll get into that coming up in just a little bit as well. I'm going to take the bait today. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm taking the bait, and I'm going scorched earth. I'm going all in. Sometimes I see something happen in especially sports because, let's be honest, it's just sports, okay? And it's not real life and death, and it's not really the real world. And I'll take the bait on something, and then it leads me down a trail, and here I go. And I did this last night and this morning. A post by Clay Travis of Outkick.com. He posted that 4 different reporters are going from sport to sport in Italy, talking to American athletes and asking them about Trump and turmoil in America and American politics. They've obviously gotten a lot out of this. They got this Hunter Hess guy and some others who are taking the bait, and they're saying, okay, yeah, I don't like it, whatever. And they just continue reporting from the Olympics on politics. Clay Travis posted that there is not one story in the New York Times archives from the Olympics that occurred during the Clinton administration, the Obama administration, or the Biden administration. Not one story ever was written in the New York Times during those 3 Democrat presidencies about politics in America from the Olympic site. Not one. And they are nonstop in the New York Times. So I take the bait. They have a favorite this year. The New York Times does, and so does NBC, which is as bad as it gets. They're the worst. They've always been the worst of the television networks. They're awful. Who's NBC's favorite at the Olympics this year? Well, it's a woman named Eileen Gu, who was born in San Francisco, who is currently goes to Stanford. She was private schooled and privately trained at a high-level ski institute in the United States. Everything she has done in her life to win gold medals, and yesterday she won a silver medal as a skier in the Winter Olympics. Everything she has benefited from is being an American. There's just that's all there is to it. There's absolutely zero other way to look at it. She is if you want to talk about entitled Americans or privileged Americans, however you want to say it, I mean, I'm not confusing this with white privilege now, just privileged Americans. She's it. She had every opportunity that in all likelihood, well, I know I never had, but in all likelihood, you never had either. This is the spoiled story of an American who doesn't realize how great she has it. Her mother is from China. So Eileen Gu, born in America, American citizen, attending Stanford, free, getting paid in endorsements, NIL, private schools her whole life, rich family, dad had a bunch of money, great career, all this great stuff. She's skiing for China. Now, I talked about this on my podcast a couple of years ago. This has been known. This is not a new story. But why would she be the darling of NBC's Olympics coverage? Why? All these people want to do is include America as part of some global thing, and now it's China? It's not Europe. It's not even Central or South America. It's not Puerto Rico or Dominican or Venezuela. We're not talking about places like that. Now it's China? You want us to love China because American Eileen Gu is from San Francisco and skiing for China. Well, the reason she skis for China is there's a lot of money in that. The CCP were almost certain worked out a deal for her. Here's the problem, and this is why I'm going scorched earth. China does not allow dual citizenship. In the New York Times, I don't know whether they accidentally did. It was the very last sentence of the story, the latest about Eileen Gu. They love her. They put it in there to cover their butt. They absolutely put it in there. To this moment, there is no record of Eileen Gu dropping her American citizenship, getting rid of it. So here's the problem. She needs to be disqualified. China does not allow dual citizenship. Therefore, she has to renounce her American citizenship and actually drop it. Like, not just claim, because she's bad-mouthing Trump over there and, the whole thing. That's why they love her. She's bad-mouthing Trump. They don't care if she's Chinese. She's bad-mouthing Trump. So that's what we got going on at the Olympics. There's no sports happening at the Olympics this year, folks. It's all just politics. And the left is doing this. I don't even want to talk about this. I don't want to watch the Olympics. I don't care anymore. I know what NBC is going to be shoving down my throat. They're going to send me some girl from San Francisco that's a Chinese competitor winning a silver medal that should be disqualified. She should absolutely be disqualified. If she has dual citizenship, she should be disqualified. How did the Olympic Committee allow this? How did China allow this? They got real rules over there, right? Why do you think China's doing this? That country will do anything to poke us. Anything. And so they find this little sweet spot out in San Francisco with Eileen Gu, who's going to take a pile of money and say, I don't like Trump. I'm going to ski for the Chinese. I don't know what Trump can do. I don't know what the federal... here's the problem she's got. If she has gotten rid of her citizenship and there's no record of it, can't they deport her? Asking for a friend, I don't know. I know she was born in America, but I think you can drop your citizenship. You can not be American if you choose to not be American. You can clearly be Chinese if she wants to be Chinese. And the only way she can compete in the Olympics is she's only a Chinese national and not American. That's the only way. That's their rules. That's the Olympic rules. That's it. She can't do it as a dual citizenship. China doesn't allow that. America, of course, does. We allow anything because we're better than these other countries. But if the New York Times and NBC and all these people are just going to turn the Olympics into bashing on Trump, which is what they're desperately trying to do, they will try. These people, this is just so insane. And it's not just Trump. They hated Mitt Romney and John McCain, and then after they die, John McCain was a hero. He was the maverick. He was after he's dead and gone and no more a threat, they love him. He was a good one compared to Trump. It's crazy. These people are absolutely nuts. I am not rooting for Eileen Gu, and I think there should be an investigation, and I think she should be disqualified from the Olympics. And I don't know that America can do anything about that. That would be the Olympic Committee and China. But if they're allowing her to do this as a dual citizenship, she is not qualified to be on the Chinese national team. They've broken their own rules and broken what their rules are with the Olympic Committee because they've said this is what we are. We don't allow dual citizens. You've got it right here. She hasn't renounced it. They need to take the medals away. They need to disqualify her. I don't know if she can be deported to China if she's no longer an American citizen. Is she no longer an American citizen? Why is nobody asking these questions? We just allow this. This is why I can't take liberals or the Olympics seriously. This is not serious. The halftime show with Bad Bunny the other day was not serious. It's just an affront to things. These are not serious people. They just toss things at you, break all rules, don't care, They're literally, in the United States of America, the Democrats right now are working harder at preventing voter ID than anything I can ever remember. Voter ID. The 84% of Americans want it. 71% of Democrats want it. And they're going to stand there and fight it. We got to put them to a filibuster, man. Not where you change the rules. Just make them stand there and talk and talk and talk for days and weeks on the standing filibuster. And let's hear what they have to say about voter ID. I want to hear all this stuff. This is what they're about. Nothing matters to them. They basically want no rules, no borders, no rules, no nothing. We just want to be part of the world. And we want to change what's going on within our borders here because we don't like the first 250 years. And here we are celebrating America 250 with a girl from San Francisco winning a silver medal skiing for China for money. Wow. I mean, the Olympics. You talk about the bastardization of a once great competition. I thought the World Cup's been the gold standard for corruption in sports. But I think we can just put the Olympics right next to them now. I think that if there's a podium, we got to have a podium for 2 gold medals. The World Cup and the Olympics, biggest frauds in sports history. Absolutely ridiculous. It is. 913-408-7957 is the phone number to call. If you've got a comment on that, I'll take your calls. We got a great show ahead. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. You know how you can tell who's right and wrong about any topic in politics? You can tell by their reaction to being asked about it. And nowhere is this more evident than we're seeing with the SAVE Act, which the House, I guess, is going to have some sort of a vote on at some point this week. Although John Thune over in the Senate says, quote, "We will vote at some point." I mean, he's not promising anything. Ted Cruz wants the old-fashioned talking filibuster. This has got to get done. If we can't, in this country, get something passed in Washington, D.C. that 84% of Americans say we should pass, just step back for a second and ask yourself how or why the country is broken politically. If 84% of the people out here in the United States agree on something, that a voter ID, that ID should be a photo ID should be used for voting. If 84% of the people agree on that and our government can't pass that, this should be the easiest thing ever passed. So we know what the Democrats are. They're obstructionists, and it's all borne out in this. If you ask Trump about it, he'll talk all day about the SAVE Act and elections. They're rigged, they're stolen, we're a laughingstock, the rest of the world, blah, blah, blah. He'd just go on and on and on. Chuck Schumer was asked about this at the Senate, and he just no comments. He just started walking, just walked away from reporters asking him to explain why he compares the new SAVE Act to Jim Crow 2.0. To back that up, to give a statistic, when we know what happened in Georgia when they switched and required voter ID, the black vote went up. It went up in Georgia when they did this. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no guarantee this is a great thing for Republicans. I think it is, but I don't know it is. All I know is it's right. It's absolutely the right thing to do. The University of Maryland claims they've got something called the Center for Democracy. They claim that 21 million Americans don't have proof of citizenship. What? Who are these people? If they're citizens, we have their proof. It's called a Social Security number. Right? Aren't you born with that? You get one at birth, a Social Security number. How can 21 million Americans not have proof of citizenship? This is a university, Center for Democracy. That's just fraud. That's absolute filth and lies. It reminds me of COVID. They also say 2.6 million Americans don't have a government-issued ID. Okay, the SAVE Act takes care of that. Let's pass the act, and let's send everybody a voter ID card. That doesn't seem that hard to me. The money we spend in other countries and the wars we've fought over the last 50 years and the stupid stuff we do, we can't provide a voter ID card for every American citizen? I think we can. I think the government can pay for that. I'll bet you we can get a good tech company to come in and get this thing done to where they cost, about $1 each. If they cost $1 each, you're only going to need $150 million to get it done, in all likelihood. That's the people that would sign up. But no, the proof is always in this. Is somebody willing to talk about the topic or not? And when somebody, I don't understand why Chuck Schumer would say something like Jim Crow 2.0, and then when asked about it, Okay, walk away from the camera. It's the most damning thing there is. It's like, I know, I lied. I was just BSing. I'm full of crap. I lied. I'm terrible. I'm awful. Hey, where's all the ICE people this week in light of the Ring camera Super Bowl commercial? Did you guys see the Ring? Mark, did you see the Ring camera commercial with the dog that was lost?
I heard about it. I didn't see it live, but I heard about it.
Apparently, it was the number one favorite commercial. It was not the best commercial, but people love a lost dog being found and returned to their owners. So you're going to win a lot of polls doing things like that. Le'Veon Bell, the former football player, said, if you're not ripping your Ring camera off your front door and throwing it into a pot of boiling water, I don't know what you're doing.
I saw that tweet.
It was unbelievable. And then I started looking into it. Get this. This is about search party AI. There are 20 million Ring cameras in America. 5% of the people that buy them opt out of the standard settings where you can change what's going on. The Ring camera now has AI, and it's geo-tracking everyone and everything. It's basically saying, using a dog instead of being honest, facial recognition, which we don't all want, right? Like, I'm not thrilled that I walk down the street, take my dog for a walk, and their Ring camera's taking a shot of my face, and it's geo-tracking me, and they can identify me anywhere. What they've basically done with the Ring cameras is they've installed a network of spying on the American public with the government, the FBI, the databases for the police. Look, it's going to solve a lot of crimes. I'm not arguing that. The question is about your right to privacy. And I think what's happened in this country is we don't really have a right to privacy anymore, unless it's inside our home, not on our property. I don't have privacy on there's other people's Ring cameras shooting my property. I know that that's happening. And a lot of people that are really concerned about personal liberties are claiming that this should absolutely be illegal, that AI used for something called search party should not be allowed. Now, boy, do they need that in Tucson. Did they need that in Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood? And they didn't have it. So that's another story for another day. They've got an awful lot of blocked cameras apparently there, and it's very dark. There's no street lights. We all know the story of Nancy Guthrie. But I think it might open up a national discussion now that they put this in a spot. But make no mistake about it, it was not an accident they used a dog, a lost dog, because who doesn't love that? Oh, my Ring camera and everybody else's Ring camera got my dog back for me. It didn't say they're looking for a stalker or, whatever it is that you're out doing or, whatever's happening on your neighbor's camera. They don't want you to think like that. They just want you to think of puppies being returned home, because who doesn't love puppies? We all love the puppies. We just love them.
Cute animals on Super Bowl commercials always win.
Always a winner. This is interesting. Now, something called Samba TV. I don't know exactly what this is. It's not Nielsen. But they've come out with ratings. They're apparently an analytics company based in California somewhere, and they do TV statistics. They claim that 48.6 million households watched the Super Bowl in America. That would probably pan out to 130 million. A lot of these gatherings are big groups. They don't use the normal how many people live in a house type thing for the Super Bowl. They add to that. So I think that checks out. But they're claiming that 22 million of those households either turned off or changed the channel at halftime. And that the total number of households watching the game was down 13% from the Chiefs last year. And Bad Bunny lost 39% of the audience that Kendrick Lamar had last year. That's really interesting. If that's the case, the NFL and NBC got to do a lot of make goods here for advertisers and get them some spots in the Olympics or something for free, because they didn't get what they were paying for at halftime of the Super Bowl. There's no question the ratings went down at halftime. The only question is how much. We'll see what Nielsen chimes in with. So, different day, same story. There's nothing new in the Nancy Guthrie case, but there is an awful lot new around what we're learning. We were told is not all that accurate. There was no Nancy Guthrie going to church that Sunday. She was going to friends' houses where she'd be with friends watching a service from a church in New York online. And all those people need to be involved in some way and ask questions. And so nobody knows. Forget the investigation part. What I'm interested in, and this is going to sound, I don't want to be known as the conspiratorial guy on the radio. I just don't want to be that guy. But we're in an era where these people have pushed this now for over a decade, since 2015, with their Trump derangement syndrome, that every single thing that they see in America, they see through a prism first of hating Donald Trump. That's it. And we know these people. We know who they are. Savannah Guthrie's one of them. Okay? She's a hardened leftist in the media with a warm smile and a nice talent on air and a soft touch that everybody thinks, oh, that's the girl next door. But beneath that is something entirely different. She's been around people in politics and the Clintons and all these people for decades now. And I'm not saying she's a bad person. I'm simply saying it is no conspiracy theory to think that Savannah Guthrie looks at everything in the world through the Trump derangement prism. And so when I found out who it was that she called first after learning her mom was gone, this is before authorities said anything, before you knew anything, before anything. They're like, uh-oh, where's mom? She's not home. We went and checked at the house. She's not there. Now, the family called the local police absolutely first. And then this person is bragging that he got the next call. Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona, the one who's been warring with Pete Hegseth, the one who's telling members of the military to defy the orders of their superiors in the United States Armed Forces. Mark Kelly was an astronaut. I'm sure once upon a time somewhere there was a fine person there. But now, total TDS at every level. This is the first person Savannah Guthrie called, and we know this because Mark Kelly's bragging about it. Now, why would Mark Kelly brag about this? Well, they started asking questions like, gee, Senator, it looks like Keystone Cops out there. What the hell's going on in Tucson? Does anybody know what they're doing? Like day 2, there's no tape around the house, and there's reporters walking up on the porch where there's blood. I've never seen that in a local case, let alone something as high profile as Savannah Guthrie's mother. Have you ever seen a case where the second day in, there's no ropes around the crime scene, they're out of there, and reporters are walking up video cameras, oh, look at this blood on the porch. Like Nancy Guthrie's blood is on the ground, the reporters are walking in it. And what happened a couple days after that? Do you remember? Oh, look at all these authorities coming in now. Here they come. Here they come. Uh-oh. We've got the FBI. We've got the Border Patrol. Oh, what's this? It's taking another phase, another step. They secure the entire perimeter of the property. They lock the whole thing down. They tell all the reporters to get across the street. And they take care of the crime scene properly. After the Keystone Cops in Tucson and the sheriff, he got spotted at a basketball game Saturday night. He went to the Arizona basketball game. No more updates from the sheriff's department. They're not doing news conferences. They're giving no information. Folks, here's what happened. You know this is what happened. Savannah Guthrie called Mark Kelly and said, I need you to do whatever you can possibly do to keep the feds out of here. I want Pima County Sheriff and local Tucson and nothing else. I don't want Trump involved in this at all. Keep him out. And Mark Kelly's like, of course, why not? Everything he could possibly do. Nope, we're good here. We're not asking for anything. It was probably coordinated with the governor of Arizona, who's a liberal as well and has Trump derangement syndrome, in a very conservative state, which, by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, Arizona's red. It's going to be red. They're cleaning up the voter rolls. They're doing a lot of stuff. It's going to go back to what it's always been before it's been what it's been the last 8 years. Okay, it's going to get cleaned up. Arizona's going to be fine. Don't worry about Arizona being purple. They'll get this back, and the Mark Kellys will be gone, and that will be that. But you know what happened here. She got on the phone with Mark Kelly and said anything you could do would be great, but we got to. I don't want the feds anywhere around here. Can you imagine? Your mother is gone, and the first thing you think of is if Trump's feds come in here, they're going to sabotage this thing and screw my family over somehow. Can you imagine thinking that? If that was my mom, the first thing I would want is the FBI in, even Biden's FBI or Obama's. I don't care. I want them in. I want every possible technology that we have helping to find my mom. Everything. And nope, it was days before the feds came in. And you know what is the truth about crimes that occur? The first 10 or 12 hours are huge, but the first 48 hours are everything. Once it's been 2 days and you're looking, it can become a long slog, or maybe even someday a cold case. There are all kinds of former FBI agents out there saying now that they think that Nancy Guthrie is dead and she'll never be found. That's what will happen. We're talking about a vast area, probably some spots you could cross the border and dump her or bury her in Mexico, that it's just never going to happen. And maybe it was a kidnapping at first, and maybe it went bad and she died. Who knows? Nobody knows what happened. I just think it's very telling that the first person Savannah Guthrie called, because he's bragging about it, like, oh, it's not my fault. It's not my fault nothing good's happened here in this investigation. She called me right away. And it's like, oh, yeah, I got right on it. I'm doing what I can do. And this sheriff is in real trouble in Pima County. And he's a Democrat, and he's probably got TDS. And I don't know how Pima County has a Democrat sheriff. I do not understand that at all. I guess it's because the university is there. The University of Arizona, Tucson is a university town. Maybe that's part of it. I just can't imagine that your mom has gone and the first thing you think of is to call your Democrat senator and make sure the feds are nowhere near the investigation, because that clearly took place, and we're going to learn more and more about that as time goes by. To the phones we go. We've got Mike listening today in Mission, and he would like to make a comment or two about this situation. Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, Kevin. My question is, well, two questions really. The first question is, why was this woman living alone? She's 84 with a heart condition and needs regular medication, and she's living alone. Secondly, did she have any kind of a first alert device that she could have pressed a panic button? And why haven't we been told the answers to these questions?
She did. She had an Apple Watch, and it was disabled. When the kidnapper got there, it was disabled before she could do anything with the Apple Watch. It has a panic button on it. It's the same as a beeper or whatever. The Apple Watch was disabled, and so was her app on her phone to her pacemaker was disconnected. So that couldn't be tracked, where the pacemaker was or anything like that. So, yes, this person that went in there and did this knew a lot of this stuff and took care of that. It just doesn't feel that random to me anymore. It just seems targeted when you start piecing this stuff together. But I asked the same question. There's a lot of guilt and a lot of second guessing, but this is the bigger question. I can understand living alone. My mom is in her 90s and lives alone, but she lives in a senior apartment complex, and there's all kinds of other people around. Okay, but she lives alone, and that's fine. She cooks, she cleans, she does everything herself. She's still independent. She doesn't drive anymore. And it sounds like driving wasn't easy for Nancy Guthrie because she took an Uber the night before to her daughter's house, and then they drove her home. So that was a little weird to me. They're like, oh, she was going to drive to her friends on Sunday. Maybe she only drove close by or in the daylight hours and not at night. That's not unusual. My mom has done that for years. She drove during the day, but not at night. But what I don't understand is not really having good security cameras. They were in place, but they were all blocked. They were easily diffused somehow in a neighborhood where she lived on a massive piece of land where there's no streetlights. I'm not talking about dim streetlights. There are no streetlights. These people specifically go up into the hills of the desert and want to see the stars at night. It's beautiful. They want to be in the pitch darkness. That is not a place for your 84-year-old mom.
Thanks for the info.
All right, Mike. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Nobody thinks that's the right way for their mom to live. I mean, I don't, and I'm sure they're second-guessing themselves, but that's all past tense at this point. Jeff is in Shawnee on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Jeff.
Hello, Kevin. Hey, I got a question for you. What's your thought on this being the biggest thing about white privilege? Where's your liberals at? If this was your mom or my mom, where's the outcry of the white privilege, all the VIP stuff she's getting here? Because I don't hear nobody crying about it. And listen, and I know, I've been down to Tucson, and it's very criminal down there. And what if it's a drug cartel or illegal that took him? I mean, it's going to be crazy.
That's the first thing I thought when it happened, was that's what it was, and they were targeting somebody that would be easy and high profile, and there was going to be a ransom, or there was going to be some sort of demand from the Trump administration to back off whatever may be the case. That's what I initially thought this thing was going to be, but it hasn't materialized. And maybe it was. Maybe she died. There's a lot of people saying maybe the kidnapper went in and got her, and she had a heart attack and died, and now they're like, oh crap, there went that plan. We got no proof of life. Now we just got to go bury her in the desert somewhere. That absolutely could have happened too.
Well, I think they're negotiating for a a dead person. I think I'm with you. I think she died that day and went downhill from there. And all they're trying to do is figure out how to get this body back.
Well, let me also add this, Jeff. I don't say this enough. I should probably say it every day on this show. I've been saying this for years. And I don't know that I was the first person to come up with it, but I didn't read it somewhere else. There's one step above white privilege in America, and that's called liberal privilege. If you're liberal, you have a privilege in this country that nobody else has. And that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing liberal privilege in this thing. It is astonishing to watch. Yes, they're white. That's the double whammy. They're white and liberal. They get all the privilege. And if we were smart, maybe, I don't know, when I retire or whatever, maybe I should turn into a liberal too and just vote for all this good stuff to come my way. Maybe we should all just take liberal privilege.
Yep, but if it was a Fox News correspondent, woman, man, and it was their mom, and they had all this coverage, the left would just be blowing up.
The family. Yes, they'd be running stories right and left about the son-in-law, his past, things like that. Nobody's doing that. Conservative media are being very, very, very good to the Guthrie family, and they should. Until somebody's a suspect or a person of interest, nobody should say one bad thing about anybody in this family. But there's plenty of people out there asking what the son-in-law's been up to the last 10 days because nobody seems to know where he is.
Hey, I went to Tucson, a couple years ago to an air show. Tucson, oh, my gosh. I was ready to get in and get out there and get back home, man. So it's not very good down in Tucson.
Thanks for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. It can be rough. You're near the border, and it would be – that's why I thought when they abducted her, the easiest thing in the world is to get her to Mexico. They could have had her across the border into Mexico before sunrise. Easy enough. Trust me. Somebody who knew what they were doing could have gotten her across the border into Mexico before sunrise. Would have been a piece of cake. When we come back, why – oh, this is controversial. Why the regular season in college basketball is actually better than March Madness. I'll explain that as Mark joins us next on KCMO. Let's bring in Mark Van Sickle, who had another big night. It was just one gift after another. All his teams just keep winning. Mark, true or false, the college basketball regular season is better than March Madness?
I still like March Madness, but I can see where you're going with this.
March Madness, and I covered the tournament for maybe 30 years. I've been to so many different NCAA tournament games. Is a very sterile environment. There's a couple thousand fans usually for each team, but it's like if you go to the Big 12 tournament, there is no comparison between that and really anywhere in the Big 12 if they're having a big game at their house that night. It's just not as good. And we saw that in a magnificent way on Monday night where Kansas fans who thought maybe they didn't have a very good team this year and have been frustrated with Darren Peterson, who sat out another game, are now sticking around after the game. They don't storm the court at Allen Fieldhouse, but boy, they stood around forever and cheered, and the players came back out of the locker room, and Bill Self celebrated. He celebrated more last night than either of his national titles, Mark. That guy was thrilled.
That's what I told my daughter, my oldest daughter. We were watching the game with one of my buddies, and I said he did the double fist pump and look up in the sky and yell, and he only did that the last time I saw in 2022 after they won the championship.
It's unbelievable, and you can't not get caught up in the moment. And Arizona didn't do anything to convince me that they're not, like a one-seed caliber team. And they're young. They got a lot of freshmen, but they were fine. They didn't shoot free throws particularly well. But, we talked about this. We knew Kansas was going to win. I didn't even flinch when Peterson was out. I'm like, no, I got to bet on the Jayhawks tonight. I ain't changing that bet. I don't care if Darren Peterson plays or not. That building was magic. That team played inspired. That can't be the high point of the year, though. That's my only fear is don't let that be the high point of the year. But, boy, was that a game to remember. We use the term history way too much in sports, but that was historic last night. We will always remember that one.
That was epic. Yeah. I agree with you. I hope they don't peak there because they do have some tough games coming up, but if they can get going in March. If Peterson can come back, I think they can make a run at it.
Okay, so we had a chucklehead that works the scorer's table at the game at Allen Fieldhouse who busted his phone out and knew the story about Darren Peterson. And knew that Peterson was out of the game. And this is before the game. And he's on his phone. And he's basically texting to other people. So he's sick and didn't tell anybody at practice. And Bill said, don't half-ass it if you're going to play. If not, just sit. He said, F it, I'm out. And a dude behind him was videoing this text and then screenshotted it and posted it. It went all over the internet. KU put a statement out, hey, he doesn't work for us. This, I don't know where you got the information, blah, blah, blah. They didn't say it's not true. They just said, we're not saying that. But I saw this morning, Mark, I don't know if you've seen this or not. Do you know who Jeff Bolig is?
No.
Okay, he used to be the sports information director there, and he works on Scores Row. He's like the scorekeeper.
Okay.
He's the guy on Press Row, and he does it at the Big 12 tournament. Everybody knows Jeff Bolig. He goes to my mom's church. He's a really good dude. He's just been at this for so long. He's such a pro. He walks up behind this chucklehead. I don't know who the guy was. Nobody's identified him yet, I don't think. And he walks up behind him, and the guy pulls his headset off, and Bolig's talking in his ear, and he just turns white as a ghost. Like, what? What? And he kind of starts shaking, and he doesn't want to hear it, and he puts his headset back on and puts his head down. Bolig walked up at that very moment and said, dude, you're famous on the internet. We saw your text. He's like, what? He had no idea. Can you imagine the feeling if somebody told you that?
What really got me, I saw that video. Who are those two Chinese kids sitting right behind him? Were they the ones that took the video?
That's what I asked Jessica. I said, I don't know if it was these kids or there was another guy like 3 rows back that it could have been. But it was awesome. Your phone, if you're in public and it's out, people can shoot it. We talked about the Ring cameras earlier. There is no privacy in the world anymore.
No privacy concerns there.
No, there's no privacy in the world, man. It's like it doesn't exist. It's crazy. It's one of those things. That's a great game, man. It was just a terrific game. How about this one, Mark? The Royals have decided spring training pitchers and catchers report today.
Sweet.
They've announced that they're only doing 6 nights of dollar hot dogs this year.
I saw that. That's so disappointing.
It is, and it's Tuesday nights, and nobody goes to the game anyway. And this is just an unforced error by the Royals. It's them screaming we're cheap, and it might not be them. It might be their vendors that are requiring this. But it just makes them look cheap that we're cutting back in half the number of dollar dog nights. I don't understand it. Just eat it those nights, you know?
And only hot dogs, that you don't get the pop or the peanuts anymore.
Right. That's awesome. In Boston, a landlord is trying to boot Raising Cane's out of a 100-year-old building. The lease runs through 2037. They built out the second floor for people to have an office space up there. The tenants are complaining that there's an offensive odor that smells like chicken fingers. And Raising Cane's is suing them, saying you didn't build it out well enough. It's your fault. Go Raising Cane's. I'm going to go get me some right now.